Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Ellie Laliberte. Ellie, welcome to our show. Please tell us more about yourself, what you're doing, and how can you help midlifers.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is great. Okay, so I am all kinds of things. I first I'm an entrepreneur and I've been an entrepreneur for the last, I would say, 18 years now, getting close to 20 years. Wow, that's yeah, that makes us feel a little older. So yes, I'm basically an entrepreneur since the age of 21. And I've got into a couple of businesses, but the main thing that I've always been very passionate about, or at least that I've discovered in my early 20s, was spirituality and self-development, self-improvement. And so I dove into the spiritual world and all philosophy, ancient philosophies, and psychological as well, all the things. And then I decided just recently, about 2 years ago, to really dive deeper into the work where I would actually share the gifts that I had around spirituality from massive healing that I've done throughout the years. And so, yeah, I became an author. I was already an author, but really incarnating the author lifestyle started only 2 years ago. And then with this, I started to help other people just, with coaching and guidance to really discover themselves through maybe a different, more unique way. So it started with a book that I wrote, and the book is called Letters from You to You. And it is all about getting in touch with your higher self. So you're reading this book as if you're reading letters from your higher self that have been written from your higher self. So you're rediscovering other parts of you that you might have been ignoring for a long time, unfortunately, due to conditioning. But it is very um, I would say loving, a lot of compassion, self-compassion that you will feel into this book. And obviously, a lot of healing that you'll be doing and releasing because you are actually getting back to the essence of who you are. And that can be very shattering for the ego. So, this is what I've created with the book and decided to just recently launch a course that is diving deeper inside of the book, of the teachings of the book, and to also integrate a lot more of the practices. So you're learning about witness consciousness inside of that course. And it's to help, yeah, midlifers. I focus a little bit more on women, but it is very much for everyone that is wanting to do this work. But it's concentrated mostly on when you're going through a transition. And so you're feeling a sense of loss and you're wanting to reconnect to something that is higher for you to be able to come back into your inner peace and really make that inner peace more important than anything else in your life because that's the only thing that is sustainable. So this is the work that I do, and it's ever so evolving, and so I'm always being more creative with my work and yeah, just having a really nice time.
Okay, amazing. I would like to ask you the following. Before we start reading letters from you to you, do we need to have a background in spirituality, in self improvement, in psychology? What is the level of knowledge and experience that is expected of the reader?
No, I don't believe that you need to have a background. I think you need to have an open heart and an open mind for sure. I mean, anyone who's reading this book, if they are not, wanting to believe in something that is higher, they're going to reject the book very quickly, right? So I feel like it's not so much about having the knowledge because it is simple to read, so it's not too complicated to understand. And you know what? I always say this, like when your soul is ready to receive information, it will receive the information really, really naturally. So if you're drawn to the book and you start reading it and you continue reading the letters, that means that you're ready to accept these teachings and this information about something deeper that is inside of yourself. So it doesn't matter if you haven't done any inner work per se. I do believe that all of the answers are already all inside of us. It's just that we sometimes need something exterior to guide us to remember the information, right? So no, you don't need it for sure.
Okay. What what are the results that the reader can expect of reading this book?
The result I would say is that you are changing your perspective about your reality. So you're going to be seeing your reality completely different because you're not going to be still attached to some concept that have been making you suffer for such a long time that have to do with, just everything with the personal mind that gets so involved into the stories and into the chaos of like, drama, exterior drama, whatever. You're going to be feeling like there are layers that are being peeled off from you. That may not feel comfortable though, just warning people. But during the book, what you're going to be feeling as well is that as much as it might be direct, like at the direct approach, and I've had some comments that it was kind of like sometimes tough love in a way, but there's also that kind of energy that is holding you, so holding space throughout the entire book and just giving you that compassion, right? And so you're developing some self-compassion while you're reading this book, and you're also developing compassion for your parents, for the people that are around you, because you're realizing that we're all going through the same kind of conditioning and the same kind of healing that we all have to do in order to really reveal the essence of who we are. So yeah.
Okay. Um, who is the so you said that you're mainly working with women. Um,
Yeah, the moment, yes.
yeah. So does it have the same effect on the men, or is there any other feedbacks from the male population?
It has, it's funny because for the book itself, the course is new, and I've mainly focused it on women just because there's a lot of in there that's my experience as well. Like in the book, you're not going to see a lot of my personal stories per se. It's really more about like finding yourself and hearing you and not so much about me. And I did that on purpose because, well, actually, not that I did that on purpose because I feel like I was very channeled in that book. So it was never about me. It was really a message that I was receiving and it just came through me. But in my course, I put a little bit more about my personal stories. So I'm kind of like targeting more women because that was, my journey. So it's called A Woman's Journey Back to Inner Peace because that was my journey. I went through loss. And many times I went through loss and I had to navigate a lot of emotional a lot of emotional pain in my life, and especially in the last 8 years. So it is more, yeah, it's a little bit more focused on the woman's side. But if a man is wanting to just read the book, I've had many men read the book, and they were all. I really love actually the feedback from men that have read the book. They were all very excited of getting to know parts of themselves that like they feel like they needed to hear it in the book how the truth was really really revealing, and like they felt like they didn't know who would have been able to tell them that kind of like plain truth about who they are. And sometimes, when that you have patterns, but like people are not really pointing these patterns out to you, but you kind of know that you need to be you need to have someone be very direct with you. They felt that kind of like direct approach. So that's been my experience with men where they're like, I love the direct approach because I need to be told, in that sense. And they love the concept of feeling like it's their inner being that is really just, telling them these truths about themselves. And yeah, I had a lot of great comments from men. And especially, it's funny because it's mostly men that have been hosts on podcasts like you that read the book afterwards or before. And they were just like, yeah, I had the best conversations, I would say, with men about the book.
So, would you say that your book is also an accountability partner?
How did that, sorry, I didn't understand the last,
Would you say that your book is an accountability partner? So,
oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it is really just, telling you the plain truth. It's
mhm.
not bullshitting you. It's really just authentic and yeah, telling you like it is. And so keeping you on your toes about like, okay, well, you have to be responsible about your own patterns and just look at yourself, because no one is going to do that for you. And you have to stop blaming other people for how you react and how you're triggered and everything, right? So it's for sure. Yeah. And it's funny because that's the first time someone asked me this question and sees it in that way. So, but yeah, it would be a great accountability partner. The thing is too, is like your higher self is always with you, right? If you think about it, that energy is always there. It is always guiding you, is always directing you somewhere. So of course it's always going to be your number one partner. And the thing is, though, is that you have to be open to listen. When
Mhm.
you're not listening, obviously, you're wanting to do everything your own way. Well, you're of course going to, uh, you know, kind of like go through a lot more challenges because you're not letting that part of you just be more kind of like that higher self knows your path. It knows you better than you because you're so used to being stuck on your past experience, and the ego is always just like listening to the opinions of everybody else that is outside of himself. So of course, when you're doing that, you're not getting to know the real self because you're not going into the quiet self to really listen to like who am I without all of these opinions of society and everything, right? So of course the your higher self is always with you, always with you. It's just waiting. It's really waiting for you to listen.
Okay, you hinted at it a couple of times, but I have to ask one more time just to be clear and to clear it for our audience.
Yeah.
Basically, your book is extremely empowering because it tells us the truth, and the truth is that everything is already inside us, and uh, the we on the inside we know all the answers,
Yeah.
and we are also the only one to blame. So
Yes.
that is the empowering part of the book. This revelation, basically, that we have it all, we just don't know how to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So um, after we read the book, we and if we want to dive deeper, then we have to apply for your course. What happens? You mentioned that you include more of your personal story in the course than you did in the book. So, what are the other benefits of enrolling in your course? Uh, what will people find, and what will they learn about themselves while attending the course?
Yeah, so the course is really meant for you to start into it inside of their lifestyle. So sometimes, it's great to read a book and then to just, reveal these truths and be like, oh my God, I didn't know that this was within me. And it's so true. Like I've been doing these patterns I've been having for a long time or whatever. You're having a lot of revelation while you're reading the book. But the thing with just reading is that you're gaining information and knowledge, but you're not really applying most of what you're learning in your lifestyle unless you have guidance. So the course is meant for you to really start doing the work, the inner work, and I'm giving a lot of guidance with that. And so you can do it on your own time. Obviously, I'm not giving anybody like a deadline, like this course is a 6 weeks, whatever course. No, it's a couple of modules. I'm actually asking or recommending people to take their time with that course, but to still follow through, to discipline themselves because it is something that needs to be slowly integrated. It's not something that you can go fast into it. It's not a quick fix, obviously, because the thing is there's going to be a lot of releases and you need to be able to let out those releases. So I'm giving you some tips in there for you to help with those releases. I'm also giving some meditation and breathwork videos in there as well, so for you to understand how to move energy inside of you so that you can release everything that's been really blocking your energy since you were a kid. All of these patterns need to come out, right? So that you can liberate yourself and get back into that the sense of inner peace. And I'm also giving a lot of writing exercises because writing has been a really, really important part of my life and has been a very big therapy for me. It was my number one therapy. I've been writing since I was like 20. And so the writing part makes you again bring out energy outside of you. So I'm giving a lot of like journal prompts, questions for you to self-reflect on, which you don't get with the book, right? As with the book you can do it, but you're not like I don't have anything inside of the book that makes you answer some questions. It's really just you learning about these parts of you, and then if you want to do more work you can do that on your own if you're only doing the book. But if you really want to have that guidance, this course is meant for that, and it's meant as well for and I think that we're all very much going through a transition in a way right now with the world, what's changing outside of us right now. It's really calling us to get back into our inner world and make that our foundation really solid so that we can experience a better outside world. So everybody is really in transition in a way. So it's like I said, it's good for everyone. It's just that I focused a little bit more on the women's side, just for me because I relate a lot of my stories in there. But absolutely the course will help you to practice. So you will also understand something that I've not talked about too much in my book, which is all about witness consciousness and just the concept of what that does that mean and how to apply that on a daily basis in your life, which is something that I believe not a lot of people are doing, unfortunately. And I feel like it's very crucial and yet it's very, very simple to do. It's just that you have to have that discipline to start implementing that in your daily life and just really enjoying the process of discovering what that's all about. And witness consciousness is just it's been really important for me, and I've been integrating it a lot more within the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years. And it was important for me to talk about that in that course so that people know how to start um implementing that. Yeah.
Okay, I have two more questions.
Sure.
Uh, and that is uh, how important is grounding in your whole process?
Grounding.
Yes.
Grounding, oh my God, it's the entire thing. Getting back into your inner peace really means to getting back to grounding yourself for sure. And in order for you to be able to ground yourself, well, you have to come back into what is the truth of who you are, the simplicity of who you are, your authenticity, um, reaching a part of you that is calm and is absolutely in peace is for me that's what it means to be grounded, right? So that's how I describe grounded. I know that it is a process to go through. When you're so much in your head, it's really hard to be grounded. But when you learn, like I said, to just implement some practices and like witness consciousness practices, it automatically brings you to be grounded because we do a lot of stillness work as well with meditation and silent meditation and just really observing the mind and the stories and not attaching to this false reality that you're always creating in your head. And so, yeah, grounding is it's majority of everything that I teach is about that, really.
Okay, great. And Can people that are currently in survival mode because of the business, because of the family relationships, um, can they start reading the book and will that help them get out of the survival mode faster?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Because that was my journey. I was totally in survival mode and I needed to get out of that. And for that to happen, you need to surrender to something that is higher. And when you're really ready to surrender and you have these concepts and you understand these concepts, you're taking your life a lot less seriously in a way. And so you are getting out of survival mode because you're understanding what is the truth about your reality, what is the truth about your life. So you don't need to continue to fight. You don't need to continue to, just be in that sense of urgency all the time to kind of fix everything and manipulate things and all of that. So yeah, people that are in survival mode, they're not living, right? They're just living out of like really just some fume, I would say. They're exhausted and they're always just living on these fumes of what is left from like you're almost kind of like feeling almost like you're, I would say, kind of a zombie at one point because you're just trying to hold everything together, but it's not your responsibility to hold everything together. And this is what we don't understand when we're in survival mode is like there is help that is beyond help from other people because I know that when sometimes you're in survival mode, the thing that I hear a lot, and because I went through that too, is like I don't know how to ask for help because I never get help from anyone. Like people are just not there, they're not present, right? Because they're all also on a survival mode, so you can't depend on other people to help you, but you can absolutely allow help from the energy that is always with you, but you're just never listening to it and you're not being present with that energy. But that energy is always your partner, like we were saying. And so, yes, it's about allowing yourself to surrender to something that you don't know. So again, going inside of the unknown and reaching for a place where you're going to find peace in the discomfort of the unknown, because obviously the unknown is really uncomfortable for the ego. But you have to sit with yourself and just be in that space to get out of that fight or flight mode for sure.
Thank you. I really like that. Before we finish, what would be your number one advice for midlifers? How can they improve their life or a bit, or what would be the thing that where do the midlifers need to start improving their life?
Yeah, so when you're at you're in your midlife, you're actually at a point of your in your life where you've gained enough maturity to step into a version of yourself that is going to be connected to something that has a lot more meaning than anything that you've kind of experienced with your ego. So you're stepping into a world of unknown, like we were talking about. And now it's time for you to level up your maturity in a sense, for you to develop a lot of emotional intelligence instead of just being stuck so much in your mind. You have to come back into your heart and you have to realize that, it's time for you to let go of what isn't real in your life for you to be able to continue to have longevity and not continue to always be, chasing and striving to get where you are and to get out of that kind of like immaturity from the ego of like I want to create the life of my dreams and this is the way that it should be, and if it's not like that then I will never be happy, and kind of like get out of the toddler mode. That's how I want to say it, which unfortunately a lot of adults are just plainly, and it's the truth, and I do talk about that in the book, where we're really just children stuck in adult bodies because we haven't done the work of healing some, a lot of emotional patterns from our childhood, and so we're always reacting from a place of need and a place of victimhood, or a place of like I want this, and if I don't have that then I'm not happy, which is really, it's that maturity that needs to be leveled up now when you're in your midlife midlife, it's kind of like time for you to really grow up. So, without being rude, I am going to be direct. I think that we have to stop giving ourselves excuses at this time in our life, and just realize that it's time to grow up, because if we don't grow up, then we're just going to continue to suffer for absolutely nothing, and we're also not being great examples for the younger generation. And it's our responsibility to show the younger generation how to live a life in a really more, I would say, more natural state, and get out of this kind of survival mode, and just realize how life is absolutely beautiful when you can change your perspective. So but it takes discipline. It takes discipline and practice. And this is where, when you're old enough, you can absolutely start doing this, because now your children are a little older, so you don't have the excuse that you don't have time. And I would say, just to finish off with that thought, um, yeah, stop giving yourself excuses that you don't have time, because that's not true. You do have time. You have to make time, and you have to make space for yourself now, for that part of you that is asking you to love it and hold it and really see it, because no one else is going to do that for you.
Ellie, thank you very much. Thank you for being my guest tonight. And thank you for all the insights.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.